Getting some perspective on crude as well. Reza is now joining us. Reza, what's your view on crude with the sort of decline that has come in yesterday? What do you think it's happening in the crude markets? What are they trying to price in into the $72 a barrel for Brent or 69 for WTI?
Hi, I think obviously in the last few days, towards the end of last week, we had some bearish news, both on the political front and also on the actual production front. And clearly that's driven crude prices lower. We had the news, as your colleague mentioned earlier, that the U.S. Treasury is willing to consider some exemptions for Iranian crude imports. And then also we had the news that more production was coming back online in Libya. And of course, recent data from the U.S. is also quite bearish, showing that shale oil production is continuing to grow strongly.
Hi Reza, this is Nayantara joining in from New Delhi. Thanks so much for talking to us here in ET Now. If you look at it, yes, we saw globally crude oil prices fall to a 3-month low overnight. However, they are now off their lows. We've tried to see crude, try to breach certain technical levels, and that's not happened. So what are you guys, factoring in the fact that this is the new normal and perhaps this is the range that crude prices are going to stay at? That's part one. And part two, do we need to worry about that strike in Norway gaining more momentum and more workers joining in? Is that going to have an impact on crude prices?
Well, to answer your last question first, the amount of volumes we're talking about that might be affected in Norway are not significant. So, in the actual fact, not a lot of crude is not going to leave the market because of the strike in Norway. But because Norwegian crude is fed into the Brent benchmark, obviously it has an outsized influence on what can happen on the Brent market. So you might see a run-up in prices for Brent because of the strike happening in Norway. But in terms of actual volumes, it's not a significant amount. We've seen this before, that crude prices have gotten close to 80 or have reached $80, but it's quite obvious that many in the market are not comfortable with crude prices at that level, whether there's some of the producers in OPEC or some of the consumers will do the best they can to see crude come off that level and go back into the 70s.
Okay, Reza, thanks so much for joining us.